Do you attend an annual business or industry event? Why not suggest me as a speaker to the organisers? Just send them a link to pennyhaslam.co.uk and I can speak at virtual events or in person. Hi, Penny here. Today on the podcast, you can do this in the car, in the shower, out on a walk. You need to be able to speak from the heart, shoot from the hip, and all the other cliches. So you're picturing the person in front of you, that new recruit, that senior manager, that investor, that supplier. So you're not polished and you're not performing. You're just being a person. How good are you or your leaders at articulating the stuff you need to talk about? How good are you at it? Have you ever practiced talking about your messages, your important strategy, your vision, your purpose? Have you ever done that out loud, alone? No, maybe not. It's a really good approach to becoming more fluent at what you need to talk about, so you're never stuck for words. It's really important as well. I've worked with a number of clients as coaching one-to-one clients or in, teams doing training. And we've worked really hard at getting them to sound not polished, but professional. Professional, concise, on point. And it's not something that necessarily comes easily. In fact, I worked with a really senior leader in a bit of a quirky organisation. It was quite difficult to explain what they did. And we had to work for a very long time on making that possible for them to even do. And it obviously needed nuancing to a range of different people. So, you've got your, complete stranger at a networking situation, for example. So what do? You don't want to say, well, I'm the leader of this team. It's not that great, is it? You need to say what the company does, right, don't you? And they couldn't do it easily without taking 15 minutes to do so. And this isn't something that you can fall back on AI to do. You can't even spend hours crafting your words, on paper, typing them out, and it will be fine. You need to be able to speak from the heart, shoot from the hip, speak off the cuff, and all the other cliches and phrases that we use when we're talking about speaking. And nor, as I said earlier, this isn't polished. This isn't meant to be polished. This isn't a formal speech or a setting where you might be delivering to, one to many. It's not just you delivering to a small audience. This is one-to-one conversations. This is off-the-cuff stuff. Brilliant. So how can we get better at it? Well, of course, I've got some really easy practical tips for you to have a go at. So first of all, let's get into that because it will make more sense. So step 1, choose those 5 or 6 regular necessary topics that you think you need to keep going back to, or you are going back to all the time, but you're never quite landing the message well enough, and maybe you haven't practiced it enough. Maybe it's new information to you, and that's quite typical, isn't it? You don't have a minute to really gather your thoughts and to understand the implications, especially if you're in senior or middle management where you're being told information and maybe it's an announcement, and then you're going to have to mop up questions from the floor, as it were, or from your team about that announcement when you haven't really simulated the information or come to terms with it yourself. So anyway, 5 or 6 topics. So it might be strategic. It might be as simple as, what do you do? And you need to explain that. Or it might be that you're tasked with cascading information. I worked with an organisation recently who are global, and they have had for so long, in fact 90 years, they have been in the business of tangible products, physical products in offices. And so their task at the moment is strongly in the position of communicating what's been decided at a senior level. And this isn't just an SLT cascading information down. This is managers and managers and managers, hundreds of them, being able to communicate effectively to their teams in order to do the work, right? So yeah, choose those, messages, if you like, that you just want to keep getting out there that's really important. And step 2, considering how it could change for different types of people in front of you. So you might have a senior manager in front of you who's been with you for years and years and years and knows everything and knows where the bodies are buried and all that kind of stuff. So do they really need the same treatment as a new recruit who might need a more simplified version of events from their perspective? So you really got to consider people's perspectives when you're telling them your message. And this is, again, a really overlooked aspect of communication from the whole organization. So step 1, choose your messages. Step 2, consider your audiences. And then step 3, have those 2 things in mind and speak to it. Speak to your message. Speak verbally, using your mouth. No notes, no recording devices yet. Alone. You don't need to practice on somebody. You don't need to stand up in front of your family. Have you ever done that? Oh, it's awful, isn't it? No, none of that. You can do this in the car, in the shower, out on a walk. Anything that you do regularly. Or it might be that you run through it in your mind if you're down the gym or on the running machine or whatever, and just going through what you might say and how you might say it. So you're picturing the person in front of you, that new recruit, that senior manager, that investor, that supplier, the customer, the person who is yet to be a customer. Just think about them all lined up, needing different things from you. They might not need the same messages, all of them, but they'll need them in different ways, right? So your strategic change, your vision for the next 5 years, or the changes that are coming down the track that people are worried about, all need communicating. So practicing out loud is your friend here, and getting yourself into a position where you can open up a bit of your brain that's familiar with this territory, rather than having to, be stilted or fetch for it, or talk in language that and use words that aren't you. Often we're saddled with corporate speak, aren't we? And maybe the email, the memo, the document, the where it's all laid out is quite formally written. And in certain sectors, that can be really challenging. Gosh, I remember, just come to me now, working with software as a service type offering. Huge. Massive firm, global again, probably in most people's workplaces. And this poor guy, he wasn't junior, but he wasn't senior, and he was saddled with this claptrap. Anyway, I said, just explain it to me then, as if I don't know, because I didn't. I went, I can't. It's rubbish, isn't it? It's bunkum. I went, yeah. It really is absolute rubbish. So how is anyone going to excite a colleague when you don't actually know what it means yourself? So if you can cut through that and become what I would phrase as a professional conversationalist. So you're not polished and you're not performing. You're just being a person. Oh, look at me, the 3 Ps. I'm so professional. So practicing out loud as though you've been asked a question. That's a really good way of getting your brain going. So imagine someone saying, hey, what's that all about? And you can say, well, what I'd say about that is, and then speak to the point, speak to the message. Now, a really sort of old school way of doing this, which might make it a bit more fun, is to have little slips of paper, like in a jam jar or in a pocket in your bag, where you can just put in and it's like a surprise. So you're calling out names out of a hat almost, but this is messages that you need to speak to, and gamify it a little bit. It's quite a nice little buddy thing to do with a colleague. If you're working with someone, it's like, right, here you go, speak for 5 minutes on the topic of whatever it is you need to say. That's about it. I hope that's helped. Go forth and get talking. And I'll see you soon. Bye.